She said she was working late, but the Uber receipts led me right to her secret apartment. I used to think we had the kind of relationship people envied. The kind you see in holiday ads. Coffee in bed on Sundays, spontaneous road trips, texts in the middle of the day that still made you smile. Mariah and I weren't perfect, but we had rhythm. 5 years married. No kids yet, but not for lack of planning. Our conversations had slowly shifted from when we have kids to which school district makes sense. We had a shared grocery list, a joint savings account, a golden retriever named Cody, and a condo in Westwood with a view that made all the HOA fees almost tolerable. She worked in marketing, director level, long hours, lots of client dinners. I'm in IT, mostly remote. Quiet life, predictable. I liked it that way. She said she liked that I was her calm place. The late nights started gradually. At first, it made sense. The company had taken on a new client, big brand, tight deadlines. She'd text me around 6 p.m. It's looking like a late one. Don't wait up. I'd heat up leftovers and binge something on Netflix. Cody would curl up at my feet. She'd come in past midnight, hair in a bun, smelling like tired perfume and car air freshener, sometimes fast asleep before I even fully woke up to greet her. Then the frequency changed. Once a week became 3 times a week. Then more. Some weekends too. She stopped bringing home the free swag from her work events. Started turning her phone face down at dinner. Password changed. Just a new company policy, she claimed. She laughed off my questions with kisses and, "You're being silly," and "Don't be jealous of my job." I wasn't. Not really. At least not at first. But one night, she left her Apple Watch charging in the bathroom while she showered. A notification lit up the screen. Uber trip completed. I saw the address. It wasn't her office. That moment stuck with me like a splinter under my skin. I didn't mention it. I told myself there could be a million explanations. Maybe she dropped off a coworker. Maybe the address rerouted. Maybe Uber just glitched. But when the same address popped up again 2 days later, same time of night, same neighborhood, my mind stopped cooperating. I started looking for patterns. I checked our shared credit card statement. Nothing out of the ordinary. But Uber rides? All on her work phone. So, I started keeping notes. Dates, times, destinations. I told myself it wasn't snooping. I was just observing, gathering. It felt cleaner that way. She had no idea I was watching. That killed me a little. I became good at pretending. Smiling through breakfast, kissing her forehead before she left, asking how the presentation went, even though I knew she hadn't been at the office. I even helped her pack for her out-of-town conference, folding her clothes while memorizing every item, wondering which ones she'd wear and for whom. One Thursday evening, she told me she'd be stuck late at the office. "This client is driving us insane," she said, sighing as she put her heels on. "I might crash on the couch in the lounge." "Don't wait up," I smiled, nodded, told her to get some sleep. But that night, I ordered my own Uber. I followed her. Not directly. I gave her a 15-minute head start. I knew her drop-off history now. Same place. A quiet street in Koreatown. Not sketchy, not fancy. Just lived in. I told my driver I was meeting a friend at a late-night po place and needed to stop by an ATM near Berendo and 4th. As we turned the corner, my stomach curled into itself. There she was, in jeans and a sweatshirt. Not her work attire. Hair down, laughing. She was unlocking the front gate of a faded blue building with one hand while holding a tote bag in the other. She moved like she'd done it 100 times. I stayed in the Uber and watched until she disappeared behind the door. I didn't feel anger. Not yet. Just cold, hollow. Back home, I fed Cody and sat on the couch in the dark. I stared at my phone until it dimmed and shut off. Her last message said, "Still at work, still at work. Love you." I stared at it like it belonged to someone else. I didn't sleep. Not really. I heard the lock turn sometime after 1 a.m. She tiptoed in, dropped her keys in the bowl, kissed my forehead while I pretended to snore. She smelled like someone else's laundry detergent. The next morning, she hummed in the kitchen, made herself a smoothie, kissed me, said, "You're quiet today," said, "Didn't sleep well." She smiled sympathetically. "Stress from work?" "Yeah," I lied. She left without asking more. That's when I knew I needed more than receipts. I needed truth. Something undeniable. I waited until the next time she left her purse unattended. It didn't take long. She was in the shower, and her tote was sitting on the kitchen island, open. Her work phone wasn't there, of course, but her AirPods were. And so was a paper receipt from a takeout bag she'd brought home last week. The address was the same Koreatown building. I took a photo. Then, I opened her wallet. I wasn't proud of it. Inside, nestled between business cards and an expired yoga pass, was a single silver key. It didn't match anything in our condo. That was the key to her second life, and I was going to follow it. I kept the photo of the key on my phone. I didn't take it. I wasn't ready to tip her off. But I stared at the image like it was a puzzle. A silver blank with a blue rubber grip. No markings. Standard apartment issue. I found myself Googling lock brands and comparing teeth patterns. Every part of me itched to confront her, but something held me back. Pride, maybe. Fear. Or the pathetic hope that I was still wrong. The next day, I drove to the Koreatown building during my lunch break. I parked across the street and watched. The building was a 3-story walk-up, faded brick, a locked main gate, cracked concrete steps leading to worn black mailboxes. It looked like any of 100 buildings in LA. No signs of luxury. No doorman. Just a basic apartment. But it had her. No cars matched hers. That made sense. She always Ubered here. Less risk. She'd thought of everything. She was careful. Still, I noticed the buzzer list taped near the gate. A half-dozen names typed out on white paper. One stood out. M. Costa, Unit 3B. Costa was her mother's maiden name. I stared at the name like it had slapped me. She didn't even try to make up a fake last name. I rang the buzzer. No answer. I didn't expect one. So I left. But not before taking a photo of the list. That night, she came home at 7:15. Said the meeting ended early. We watched a movie. She laughed at all the right parts, curled up beside me like nothing was wrong. I felt like I was watching a skilled actress nail her performance. I counted every second until she looked away, then studied her face like a stranger's. I couldn't do this much longer. That's when I reached out to Carrie. She worked on my floor. Smart, sharp, always wore dark lipstick and walked like she had a mission. She and I weren't close, but she'd helped with a few data queries when our systems updated. I knew she'd once caught her ex cheating using a location-sharing app, and I knew she wasn't the type to ask unnecessary questions. I found her by the coffee machine the next morning. "I need to ask you something weird," I said. She raised an eyebrow. "You want me to hack your wife's phone?" I blinked. "What?" She smirked. "Kidding. Mostly." I swallowed. "Not quite. But can you help me figure out if she's hiding something digitally? I mean, patterns, tracking, stuff like that?" She studied me for a moment. "She cheating? I don't know. Do you want to know?" "I have to." She nodded slowly. "But you're going to owe me like 10 drinks or a new monitor." "Deal." We spent lunch in an empty conference room. I gave her what I had. Uber trip logs I screenshotted from her watch history, partial location data, anything I could piece together. Carrie started cross-referencing the Uber receipt times with local traffic cams and publicly available map info. "Okay," she said after 20 minutes. "This ride on Monday night? Drops off at 9. No return ride until 6:12 a.m. Next day." She said she crashed on the office, I muttered. Carrie looked at me. "A name. M. Costa. Unit 3B. She typed rapidly, ran a reverse search. Guess what? That address is listed as an Airbnb too, but only for select weekends. Want to guess who leaves town when that happens? I blinked. She rents it out when she's not using it? Or the guy she's seeing does? Split income, maybe. The word guy hit me like a punch. I need to get in, I said quietly. Carrie looked at me. You mean physically? She has a key. I've seen it. That's illegal, you know, I shrugged. I'm not stealing anything. I'm just done playing dumb. She didn't press. Take gloves. No fingerprints. Just in case. Friday night, she said she had a networking dinner and might not come home. Drinks after, then maybe staying at Rachel's, she said with a half laugh. Don't judge me if I Uber home at noon. Of course, I said, smiling like an idiot. The moment she left, I grabbed Cody's leash. The drawer with her purse was cracked open. There it was. The key. Still on the blue loop. I pocketed it. By 9 p.m., I was in Koreatown. My heart beat like I'd run a marathon. I waited until a couple walked past, then slid the key into the main gate. It turned easily. The hallway smelled like old carpet and faded incense. I climbed the stairs to 3B. The key fit. I hesitated for a second. Then I opened the door. Inside, it was quiet. Soft lighting. A vanilla candle burning faintly on the counter. Shoes by the door. Women's sneakers. A pair of men's boots. A sweatshirt draped over the couch. A charging cable still blinking red in the outlet. Everything was lived in. The walls had framed prints of landscapes. Not the kind we had at home. Softer, moodier. There were succulents on the windowsill. A book on the coffee table. The art of loving. I opened the fridge. Soy milk. Takeout containers. 2 half-drunk bottles of wine. I opened the freezer. Dog treats. The same brand Cody eats. And then the bedroom. The bed was unmade. Pillows tossed lazily. Her robe on the floor. On the nightstand, a framed photo. It was Mariah, with a man, arms around each other, on a trail somewhere, smiling like honeymooners. I recognized him immediately. Mark, her ex. The one she swore had moved to Denver. The one she blocked after he wouldn't stop texting. I stood there staring at their photo, feeling like my body wasn't mine anymore. Numbness spread from my hands to my chest, like my brain had finally gone offline to protect itself. I sat on the edge of their bed and tried to breathe. She had a whole second life, and I'd just walked into it. I left everything exactly as I'd found it. No drawers opened. No photos touched. No passive-aggressive notes or smashed wine bottles or confrontations shouted through tears. I locked the door behind me, went down the stairs like a ghost, and stepped into the night air with the weight of someone else's betrayal sitting on my chest. I didn't cry. I couldn't. My body felt too focused on surviving. I walked 2 blocks before realizing I hadn't called an Uber. I just kept walking, hands buried in my jacket, heart thudding like a slow drum beat in my ears. Mariah had 2 toothbrushes, 2 beds, 2 sets of lies. But she only had one husband. Me. I stayed awake that night on the living room couch, staring at the TV screen without watching it. Cody curled beside me, nudging my leg with concern. Behind his ears and, "I'm sorry, buddy." He didn't know why his world was suddenly quieter, sadder. But he stayed. The next morning, she came home around 10, smelling like perfume and peppermint gum. Hair tousled. Big sunglasses. A fake yawn on her lips. "Rough night," she said, kicking her shoes off. "Rachel's couch is the worst." I said nothing. She raised an eyebrow. "What? Nothing. You look tired." She shrugged, poured herself a coffee, and scrolled through her phone like it was any other Saturday. As if I hadn't stood in her secret bedroom 12 hours earlier. I couldn't look at her without seeing him. But I wasn't ready yet. I needed more. Not for me, for her. I wanted to catch her in something she couldn't spin. Couldn't sweet-talk or gaslight or shrug away with those doe eyes and perfectly timed jokes. I needed to watch her lie straight to my face, knowing I had the truth in my back pocket. So I waited. The following Thursday, she said she was attending a team strategy night. Code for wine, tacos, and whatever Mark brought to the table after dessert. I smiled, told her to have fun, then called Carrie. "I want to talk to him," I said. Carrie didn't miss a beat. "Mark?" "Yeah, but not as me. Not yet." Hesitated. "You sure you're ready for that?" "I'm not sure about anything, but I can't spend another night wondering what lies they're telling each other." She sighed. "All right, give me a day." She delivered sooner. Friday afternoon, she sent me a link. Mark's Instagram, private, but his profile photo matched the one I'd seen on Mariah's nightstand. The bio, dog dad, trail runner. Sometimes I write. A few mutuals. Nothing suspicious. Except one thing. A recent post from a hiking trail. The same one from the photo in the bedroom. Posted last week. Caption. "Nothing like escaping the city with the one you love." The one you love. I stared at the sentence for a long time. I made a burner account. Sent a message. "Hey Mark, random question. Did you ever date a girl named Mariah? From LA? He responded 20 minutes later. "Yeah, still do." "Why?" "Still do." Not did. Not once did. Still. "Sorry, just thought I recognized her from somewhere." "Didn't mean to be weird." He replied, smiling emoji. "All good. Small world." I stared at the message until the text blurred. She hadn't told him. He didn't know. She was still with him, fully, openly, intimately. Not as a side thing. Not as a rekindled affair. She had built a relationship with him as real as the one she'd built with me. Parallel lives. Both with dogs. Both with laughter and secrets and inside jokes and God knows what else. She wasn't just lying to me. She was lying to both of us. That night, she came home late. Said they'd ended early again, but she'd stopped by Target on the way home. She held up a bag of new bed sheets like it was proof of innocence. "We needed new ones anyway," she said. "The others were getting scratchy." I nodded. "Let's do a movie tomorrow night," she added, breezing into the bedroom. "Just us." I wanted to scream. Instead, I followed her and helped put the sheets on. Each snap of the elastic corners felt like stitching up my own mouth. The next morning, I texted Mark again. "I think we need to talk. In person." He didn't reply for an hour. Then, "About Mariah?" "Yes." Three dots blinked. Then, where? I picked a coffee shop near Griffith Park. Neutral ground. Sunday, noon. I told Mariah I was going to the Apple store to look at laptops. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, and told me not to blow our savings. Mark was already there when I arrived. He looked just like his photos. Taller than me, maybe by an inch, with that effortless weekend hiker look. Patagonia vest, scruffy beard, polite smile. He stood up when I approached. So, I'm Anthony, blinked. Sorry. Should I know? I'm Mariah's husband. The blood drained from his face. He sat down hard. Number? No. She said she was divorced. She swore. I shook my head. Never filed. Never separated. We lived together. I was with her last night. His mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. She lives with you? Full time. You're the secret. He slumped forward, hands in his... I had no idea. I swear. I didn't. Jesus. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the photo I'd printed. The one from their bedroom. This was on her nightstand. She's not just seeing you. She's with you. He nodded slowly, talking about moving in. I thought she was finally done with the past. I let the silence hang. Why are you telling me this? Because I need you to help me end it. Mark didn't speak for a full minute. He just sat there, staring at the cup in his hands like it held the answers to everything. His knee bounced under the table, fast and restless. I saw in his eyes the same cocktail of shame and disbelief I'd been drinking for weeks. You said she lives with you full time? He finally asked. I nodded. I'm the husband. The one she files tax, the one her family knows. The one who wakes up to her every other morning thinking it's real. Told me her ex was controlling. He said that he made her feel like she couldn't breathe. That she'd finally left him for good. Funny, I said. She tells me she worked. That's how she gets to you. Mark rubbed his face with both hands. I feel sick. She played us both, I said. And you deserve to know the truth. But if we don't confront, she'll twist it. Make you feel guilty. Or worse, make me look crazy. Mark looked at me for a long moment. You have a plan? I nodded slowly. She's going to both of us because we don't know about each other. So we end the secrecy. Together. He didn't say yes right away. He looked disappear. But eventually, he nodded. All right. What do you need me to do? Just agree to meet her at the usual time. Let her think it's normal. And you? I'll already be there. That night at home, I could barely look at her. She came in from a strategy meeting, smelling like wine and someone else's cologne. I asked no questions, just smiled and handed her the dinner I'd made. She told me about her fake co-workers. I nodded along, filing away every word for later. Monday came. I left work early. Called in sick. Mariah kissed me goodbye around 7 p.m., wearing the same gray coat I'd seen in their hallway. Don't wait up, she said. It'll be a long one. I'll keep the bed warm, I told her. She smiled. The way you smile at someone you think is yours. By 7:40, I was standing in her Koreatown apartment. Mark had already let me in. He looked pale, like someone walking into his own funeral. Still sure about this? He hesitated, then nodded. I need to see her face when she realized her way out. We sat in silence, the ticking of the clock louder than it should have been. The candle on the counter was still there. The door opened. She stepped in, laughing to herself, talking into her phone. Yeah, no, I told her I'd email the report, but she froze. Phone still in her hand, eyes bouncing between the two of us. I'll never forget the silence that followed. Mark stood slowly. I stayed seated. She blinked. What is this? I think you know, I said. No, You really going to lie with both of us right here? Mark said, voice sharp. She looked at him. Then me. Then him again. I can explain. No, I said. You can't. Because there's no explanation that makes this okay. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Mark stepped forward. How long, Mariah? She swallowed. I don't know. It wasn't supposed to be like... But it is like this, I said. You've been living 2 lives. Sleeping in 2 beds. Loving 2 men. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. You rented an apartment, Mark snapped. You made it a home. You put our photo on the nightstand. You told me you were divorced. You told him you were... She covered her face with her hands. I was trying to figure out what I wanted. I stood. You don't get to explore your options by... It wasn't about you. That's the problem, I said. It never was. She looked at Mark. Please. You told me you loved me, I said. I do. The words hung in the air like a toxic fog. Mark turned away. He walked to the door, paused, turned back. I hope whatever you were did. He left. The door slammed. She looked at me like I was the villain now. You ambushed me. Covered you. I never wanted this to happen. No, I said. You just wanted to get away with it. Her voice shook. I didn't know you. You could have truth. She wiped her face. So what now? You're divorcing me? I took a slow breath. Yes? She stared at me, like she expected a different answer. Like the thought of consequences had never really crossed her mind. I walked past her to the door. Don't come home, I said, and I left her there, in her false apartment, with her false life, surrounded by the lies she built so carefully and destroyed in one night. I didn't hear from her for 3 days. Not a call, not a text, not even a passive-aggressive email about bills or laundry. Nothing. The silence was loud, but I welcomed it. I didn't want apologies or explanations. There was no version of her voice that could make this better. Not anymore. I packed a bag the morning after our confrontation and moved into a hotel downtown. I couldn't stand the idea of sleeping one more night in the bed we used to share. Not when I knew where she'd been just hours before. Cody stayed with me. At least one of us deserved to feel safe. The condo felt tainted. Every room reminded me of what I thought we had. The framed wedding photo in the hallway, the way she arranged her cereal boxes alphabetically, the throw blanket she always curled under when she watched reruns of Friends. All of it fake. All of it rehearsed. I reached out to a lawyer by Friday. She didn't answer my request to meet in person, so I had the papers drafted without her input. Simple, clean, no negotiations. She could keep the dishes, the furniture, even the stupid espresso machine she begged for last Christmas. I didn't care. She forfeited her rights to ours the moment she chose his. Mark messaged me this. How are you holding up? I stared at the message for a while before replying. That's enough for now. He sent back. Same. I didn't know if we'd ever talk again. Maybe we were too tightly tied to the same wreckage. But it was strangely comforting to know someone else had survived the same storm. On Saturday, I went back to the condo. Just for a few hours. I needed my hard drives, some notebooks, clothes. She wasn't there. I hoped I'd missed her on purpose. But when I walked into the bedroom, I noticed something strange. The closet was empty. Half of it anyway. Her side, gone. Shoes, coats, jewelry box, even the tiny broken necklace she used to swear she couldn't part with. She had moved out. No note, no message. She vanished the way she had lived. Neatly, efficiently, without warning. And just like that, 5 years of my life became a ghost story. Something I could barely prove had happened if not for the photographs and paperwork. Like she'd never existed outside of my memory. That should have made it easier. It didn't. I was angry, sure. But more than that, I was hollow. The kind of empty that makes your bones feel too heavy. I kept expecting grief to hit me like a tidal wave. Instead, it was a slow leak. A quiet unraveling. Every room I stepped into felt unfamiliar. I didn't cry. I didn't break plates. I just floated. A week later, a package arrived at the hotel front desk. No return address. Inside was a small envelope with my name on it and a flash drive taped to the back. The note read, "You deserve the whole truth." I didn't know how else to do this. I stared at it for a full 10 minutes before plugging it into my laptop. There were video files, dozens of them. Screen recordings, voice memos, dates stretching back 2 years. One video played automatically. Mariah's face filled the screen. No makeup, red eyes. "Anthony," she whispered. "If you're watching this, I guess you know everything now. I wanted to explain, but you'd never let me say it in person. I wouldn't believe me either." She laughed bitterly. I didn't plan any of it. I swear to God. I just ran into Mark one day and we talked, and it felt like I'd stepped back into a version of myself I didn't hate. I didn't you. I cheated because I didn't know who I was anymore. She looked away. I know that's not good enough. Nothing I say is. But I loved you. I still do. And I loved him too. That's what messed up. I thought I could keep both worlds alive without hurting anyone. Her voice cracked. Turns out I hurt everyone, including myself. She ended the recording without a goodbye. I sat there, laptop open, her voice echoing in the hotel room. It didn't change anything. It didn't fix the lies or bring back the time she stole. But for the first time, I believed her. Not the words, the eyes, the regret. And that scared me more than anything. Because a part of me, a tiny broken part, still wanted to go back. I didn't reply to the package. I didn't text her, didn't call. Didn't even type out a message I never planned to send. I just let it be. She had taken enough space in my life already. I wasn't going to give her more of it in the form of silence waiting for a reply. I met with my lawyer the following week and signed the divorce papers. Irreconcilable differences looked so clean on paper, like it didn't involve lies stacked on lies, or a man sitting in an apartment meant for someone else's happiness, unraveling 5 years of memories with one Uber receipt. The lawyer asked if I wanted to request spousal support. I laughed. Out loud. No, I said. I don't want her money. I want myself back. She signed her side 2 weeks later. I got a text from her at 1:03 a.m. that night. Just one word. I'm sorry. I stared at it, then put my phone face down on the nightstand. That would be the last message I ever got from her. I never blocked her number. I didn't need to. There was nothing left to say. Time passed in strange chunks. Some days bled into each other without color or shape. Other days cut sharp, especially when someone asked how I was doing and I didn't know which version of me they meant. The one who had been cheated on, or the one who now had to rebuild everything from scratch. I moved out of the condo a month later, put everything I didn't want into storage, sold the espresso machine, gave away her furniture to a donation center that didn't ask questions. I left behind the wedding photo. It felt right to let it rot in the empty shell she abandoned. Cody and I found a small house in Silver Lake. It had peeling paint and a leaky faucet, but the backyard was big, and it faced the sunrise. Every morning I sat on the porch with coffee, listening to the birds while Cody sniffed every blade of grass like it was his first time. It helped. Therapy helped too, though I hated it at first. I didn't want to sit in a room and describe how I'd been fooled. I didn't want to analyze whether I'd missed red flags or ignored them out of convenience. But eventually, I stopped trying to be angry all the time and let the sadness in. And that was worse. But it was also real. Grief is messy, and sometimes healing doesn't look like progress. Sometimes it just looks like survival. Mark and I met one more time, about 3 months later. We ran into each other at a bookstore in Los Feliz, both of us reaching for the same copy of On the Road. I laughed. He didn't. You okay? He asked after a long pause. Getting there. He nodded. Same. We talked for 20 minutes. No bitterness. No post-mortem on what she did to us. Just two people who got caught in someone else's confusion and somehow climbed out on the other side. We didn't keep in touch. We didn't need to. But we walked away with something she never expected. Closure. The truth was, Mariah didn't ruin my life. She just ended the one I thought I was living. And eventually, when the pain stopped ringing so loud in my head, I realized that wasn't the same thing. Because I'd built my life around someone else's shape. Around her schedule, her preferences, her moods, her lies. And now, for the first time in years, I could build something for myself. I took up hiking, got into photography, adopted a second dog, a rescued mutt named Jasper, who refused to walk in a straight line but adored Cody like an older brother. I started cooking again, not reheating or ordering in, cooking. Real meals, messy ones. Sometimes it tasted awful, sometimes amazing, but it was mine. And then one day, months later, while walking the dogs through Griffith Park, I saw someone sitting alone on a bench with a notebook. She had short dark hair and boots too big for her ankles. She looked up and smiled when Cody licked her hand. "I think your dog likes my journal," she said. I smiled back. "He's a sucker for dramatic poetry." We talked for 15 minutes. I didn't tell her about Mariah, not that day. I just asked for her name. It was Lila. And as I walked away, something clicked quietly in my chest. Not fireworks, not fate, just a softness. The gentle reminder that endings don't mean you're broken forever. Sometimes they're just the first step toward remembering who you are when no one's watching.